You approach 3 treasure chests, one stained with blood and rubble all around it, clearly trapped. The next is riddled with scars. Weapons have dug into it, and the lock remains shattered. The last one pristine, as if it is untouched, as if any adventurer had died before getting to it. You move towards that one, reach out to unlock it, but it unfurls its tendrils, revealing a toothy maw that clamps down on your hand, pulls you in. The tendrils wrap around with a sick adhesive. You're unable to escape. Hello Monster Hunters, welcome to Harvesting Monsters, where we talk about different monsters, what their powers are, and how we can use them to create more powerful items. Today we're going to be talking about the classic, the notorious, the one that every experienced party is worried about, that makes them paranoid. We're talking about the Mimic. Now the Mimic is a fantastic creature. It's an aberration, CR4, with very well-known powers that resonate constantly. So I think the one that they are most familiar with is the plus 20 to disguise checks as objects. Now this is very specific. They have to disguise themselves as objects: chairs, tables, doors. Door mimics are the best mimics. For all you DMs out there, door mimics are the best mimics, because sometimes they can lead them to a wall and people never expect them. I always expect the chest mimics. So the plus 20 to disguise, what that can give is polymorph spells. It can obviously disguise and stealth, and any other like illusion magic. That's where it's going to fall into. So immune to acid. Now, a lot of people don't remember this because it's kind of like falls by the wayside, but they are immune to acid. They don't have any acid-like abilities, but they are immune to acid. So this can be acid-type spells. It can also be any, resistance. Next, the adhesive. So anytime a mimic makes contact with someone, it releases an adhesive to get that player stuck to them. They automatically succeed on grapple checks. It requires a DC 17 strength check, ability check, not a skill check. Very dangerous in Pathfinder to get out of it. And this will leave them kind of paralyzed. So we're going to put paralysis, rooting, any rooting effects, such as entangle, spike stone, any slow effects either. They are shape changers. That's one of their subtypes. So again, polymorph goes here. And lastly, they are intelligence. People don't really think of them as intelligent, but they are as smart as your average humanoid. So there could be ones that are smarter. So that really brings into the fact that they can set up traps. They are hunting adventurers, sometimes for more than just food. Sometimes it says in the bestiary that they will hunt out of pure sport. So they will move around with their 20 movement speed. They'll place themselves all over the place. They'll make themselves look real tempting. They'll nestle up into a pile of treasure so that it's inconspicuous. They are planning creatures. So I do want to put down that they can add intelligence to items. All right. So let's move on to the next part. What can we collect from them? Now, we can collect various different things. Went back to our usual 2x4 chart. First thing that we can get is adventuring gear. They are eating adventurers. So I put down 3x20 GP worth of gear. So you roll your dice. You'll get an average of about 32 gold pieces. So you can kind of assign like what's left over, looking at that. Next, the shifter's tendrils. So the way I imagine the mimic kind of shape-shifting is they kind of pull themselves apart, and they have like these little wiry, sinuous tendrils that kind of link together that forms them into a hard, rough surface. And I put down, you can get a die 4 pounds of them worth 50 gold pieces for each pound. Now this is going to, what powers is this going to give us? Well, it's obviously going to go for any shape-shifting, any polymorph spells, maybe even strength. Mimics are pretty strong. They have 19 strength, and that's the highest stat. Growing teeth. They're able to form teeth, obviously, because they look like a chest out of anywhere. So these teeth, they kind of shift and grow out of themselves, constantly growing and retracting. You can get a die 6 of them worth 40 GP. This is going to be for adhesive, their adhesive abilities, so paralyze, and also strength base items. Next at 6, adhesive. Now, what's you need to know about the adhesive is the adhesive disappears after about 30 seconds, 5 rounds when the mimic dies. So the players need to store it in that, and then they can find some sort of alchemical reagent to preserve it. So it's only be worth 20 GP, kind of like a Tanglefoot bag. Now, the coin eggs. Now, this is something from my own lore that I want to share with you guys. So, for me, mimics reproduce by creating these little eggs that look just like little gold pieces. So, adventurers will pick them up and they will carry them all over the place until they eventually hatch and start eating the adventurer. Or you give them to a shopkeep and they eat the shopkeep. With that 20 bonus to perception, I think they have you need a DC 30 perception check or knowledge lore, monster lore check to tell that these are actually mimic eggs. So they're either going to be worth 1 gold piece or they're going to be worth 200 gold piece to a wizard who wants mimics to protect whatever they have. And you can find up to a die 20 of them when you kill a mimic. So very prolific. And again, number 2, nothing as always. And number 8, roll twice more. So if they roll a 7, there's a good chance that they could get 2,200 gold pieces on average. So that's a really good goal for them, but it's also very dangerous if they don't get a DC 30 perception check, which is very high. And you can also decide that some of these are actual gold pieces and some of them are the eggs. Now, lastly, we're going to transition to a new thing soon, but you can pull out 1 die 8 pounds of mimic flesh. Now, the mimic flesh is going to be used for cooking and eating. And you can roll a die 4. You get another die 4 of pounds for every 5 over the DC 15 monster lore check. So basically, when you're carving up the creature, getting out the choicest pieces, if you get a DC 20, you'll get a die 8 plus a die 4. And we'll just make it easy. It's always going to be a die 8 for every 5 over. So DC, when you get a 20, you get 2 die 8. When you get 25, you get 3 die 8 pounds. And you're just able to carve out more and more pounds of meat. Now that brings us to the next one. Let's eat the mimic. All right. So I made crafting a meal with the mimic a strength-based DC. So DC 18 craft cooking checked. 10 plus half the H dice plus the strength modifier, because that is their highest stat, in order to make something edible with it. If you want to eat it raw, you're going to need to make a DC 23 fort save or take 4 points of con damage immediately and then every hour after that. Reason why I feel this is because they do have such adhesive flesh. I feel like if you eat it raw and you fail your fort save, it actually starts sticking to your intestines and starts tearing you apart. So you need to get something to dissolve it. Now, the adhesive is dissolved by strong alcohol. So one cure for this poison is to drink strong alcohol. And that's part of the craft check. You need probably about 15 gold pieces worth of strong alcohol in order to craft this meal. And it's going to give you, when you eat it, +2 to polymorph, +2 to saves versus polymorph. So it makes you more resistant to baleful polymorph and other shape-changing effects. It gives you +4 to disguise. You're able to reshape your face in order to look like someone else. And then for every 5 points above this DC 18 craft cooking check, you add +1 to each of these. So DC 23, you will get +3 to saves versus polymorph and +5 to craft. All right, so that's how we're going to start incorporating using this monster for our meals. Yeah, awesome. Now, to the magical item. Now, Mimic, it'd be real easy to make a potion that gives you some increase to disguise or even stealth, but I want to be a little bit more creative. I want to incorporate the adhesive, the disguising only as objects. So what I decided to do is I took down and I looked spider climb. So that adhesive lets you stick to the wall. You can climb on the wall for 60 minutes a day, and you can split that up into 10-minute increments. You get meld into stone twice a day. When you meld into stone, you actually become part of the stone. That's going to help you in your stealth check. So you're kind of learning from the mimic. Instead of turning into an object, you're becoming part of the wall. So that's how you're going to hide with the mimic. And lastly, just +4 to stealth. Just something nice and simple that's constant. And this item is called the Wall Shadows Cloak. All right, and to find out what the cost of that is, we're going to look at first Spider Climb. It's a 2nd level spell, 3rd level caster, times 18,000, and then divide by 5 because it's not constant. And then we're going to multiply by 2 because we want it for 60 minutes. And that counts as 2 uses per day. Next, Meld in the Stone, 3rd level spell, 5th level casting, and you can use it 2 times per day, so times 2/5 times 1,800. That's going to come out to be 10,800. And then lastly, the +4 stealth, 4 squared times 100. Now, when we were looking for the modifiers, I did ×1 for the spider climb, because even though I feel it's kind of the same as the meld into stone, you're still involving walls. Because you can split it up, I feel like that's a big boon and makes it more applicable than just having 2 blocks of 30 minutes. So I increased the modifier. Instead of times 0.75, it's ×1. And for the stealth, it's times 0.75. So altogether, that is a 16,320 gold piece item. That's going to roll us out to be about a level 8 item. It's going to cost about half the amount of gold for level 8. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it, subscribe, ring the bell icon, and share with your friends. If you want to hear me do another monster, how you can eat it, how you can use it to make items, leave it down in the comments down below, and I will go through, do a little bit of research, and I'll share with you something for you to use. Alright, thanks for watching. Keep rolling.